Lesson, Unit 3rd, Array of Values from 10th Standard English lesson. So here there are 2 proses and 1 poem. The Best Investment I Ever Made by A.J. Cronin. Second one, The Danger of Single Story. Then one poem is The Ballad of Father Gilligan. So let us start the lesson now. The author is Archibald Joseph Cronin. He was born in 1896 till 1981. He was a Scottish novelist and physician. His career as a novelist started in 1930 when he was designated with chronic ulcer and was compelled to take 6 months complete rest. During this time, he was able to indulge in his lifelong desire to write a novel, having previously written nothing but prescription and scientific papers. His first novel was Hatter's Castle, and the most popular being The Citadel. Many of his stories have been adapted to Hollywood movies. In the story of the horses, you have seen that the choices and decisions that you make will have an impact on your life and others. So before we go to lesson, see here there is a small story. Go through the following cartoon carefully and respond to the question that follows. So here is a cartoon. See here horses, 2 horses. In the first picture, they tied up each other and both also pulling in opposite side. So both also tied in only single rope and they are pulling in 2 directions. So they in the 4th cartoon, so they are thinking why we are pulling that side and this side and we are not at all getting any direction, we cannot walk. And after understanding the idea, they are walking together side by side. So they understood the solution for the problem and now the 2 horses also very happy. So some of the questions are there here. What were the horses trying to do at the beginning of the story? Did it work? No. They tried each other, they are pulling each other, but they did not succeed. What did the horses do when they found that their first attempt had been failed? They understood the reality. Did both horses get away they wanted? What did they do? Solve their problems. So they became friends each other and they walked side by side. So they solved their problem. How do you usually solve problems when you have difference of opinions with your friends? So now we see a question for you. How did you solve your problem when your friend have another or different point of view? How you will succeed in that problem? So let us go for the lesson now. In the story of the horses, you have seen that the choices and decisions that you make will have an impact on your life and others. So it is your choice and your decision that will help others also. Read the story, The Best Investment I Ever Made by A.J. Cronin. So you read this story, then find out how the author's act of kindness transformed a man's life. So find from the story how the author helped others and how he got the result after many years. On the second day, out from New York, while making the round of the promenade deck, I suddenly became aware that one of the passengers was watching me closely. So on the second day, he is traveling now. So on the second day, he understood somebody is watching him. Following me, promenade means a public place for walking. Okay, So when he was walking, he understood somebody is watching him, following me with his gaze every time I passed. So I observed that every time I walk, the person is observing me. I wanted to rest to avoid the tedium of casual importunate of shipboard contacts. So he is traveling by ship. So they are asking many questions, same question. So I am very bored to answer that, and asking many times in a way that one can annoy. Annoyed means he get angry. Any one person can get angry because they are asking many questions. I give no sign of having noticed the man, but so I did not give any sign that I am noticing him. Yet there was nothing importunate about him. On the contrary, he seemed affected by a troubled, rather touching diffidence. So it is not affected too much for me because he has lack of confidence or little shy. I felt that he had something to say to me and he is feeling shy. He was his early 40s, rather short in build. So his personality is explained here. His age maybe around 40 and his eyes clear blue eyes. His thin hair had begun to recede from his forehead, means stopped to grow the hair. His dark suit. His suit is dark, sober tie. Sober means plain, not dark color, and rimless spectacles. So his spectacles have no rim. Gave evidence of a serious and reserved disposition. So his appearance, I can felt that he is a serious person. His disposition, without any matching dress he put, so there is something disposition. At this point the bell sounded for dinner and I went below. So there is a sign for dinner, so I went for dinner. On the following forenoon, I again observed my fellow voyager watching me earnestly from his deck chair. So next day also he is watching me. Now a lady was with him, obviously his wife. So the person, now he had one lady also with him, maybe his wife. The situation by this time had begun to intrigue me. So when they are watching, so I too felt a little interest about that. Why they are watching me? I discovered from Miss Stewart that they were Mr. and Mrs. Jonius. So I asked Stewart, means my helper, who is serving me. I asked her, who is that person, that both also. So she told me they are Mr. and Mrs. John from a small suburb of London. When another day passed without an event, I began to feel certain that Mr. S would remain too shy to carry out his obvious desire to approach me. So he wanted to meet me, he wanted to talk to me, so I felt that he is feeling little shy. However, in our final evening at sea, Mrs. S decided the matter. So Mrs. S, I don't know who is his name, but so however, in final evening at sea, they decided the matter with a firm pressure on his hand and a whispered word in his ear. She urged her husband towards me as I passed along the deck. When I going there, maybe his wife told in his ear, go and talk to him. So he came. Excuse me, doctor, I wonder if I might introduce myself. So he felt 2-3 days he is waiting to speak to him, but anyway, now it's the time to speak. He started to talk. Excuse me, doctor, I wonder if I might introduce myself. I can introduce myself. He spoke almost breathlessly. Breathless means a little fear. Offering me the visiting card he held in his hand and studying my face to see if the name meant anything to me. So he showed his card, his name card. In that there is name, his name. So I saw, but I did not feel anything. Then, as it plainly did not, he went on with the same awkwardness. If you could spare a few minutes, my wife, and I would like to have a word with you. So there is no reaction from the doctor's side. So he told again, once again, if you could spare a few minutes, if you could spare a few minutes, can you talk to me? He's asking. A moment later, I was occupying the vacant chair inside them. So after a little while, there was a vacant chair, there was a chair, so I sat there. Haltingly, he told me that this had been their first visit to America. Now, lack of confidence, little fear, he told, that is their visit to America. This is the first time. It was not entirely a holiday trip. It is not a holiday trip. We are not going for recreation, but they had been making a tour of the New England states, inspect many of the summer recreational camps for young people there. So what they are going there, what their aim, what their purpose of going there, they are making some summer recreational camps for youth, for young people. Afterwards, they had visited Settlement House in New York and other cities to study the methods employed in dealing with cases of backward, maladjusted and delinquent youth. So they are going to practice, or they are giving solution for the maladjusted, delinquent means who all maladjusted means maybe they are in crime, some young people, children, they are making some mistakes, maybe some crimes, some robbery. So they are giving for them some recreational camps, and they are providing some solution, all these things. Counseling, they are also making counseling to become these people good. There was in his voice and manner, indeed in his whole personality, a genuine enthusiasm that was disarming, little angry. So all this he is saying, I did not interested anything. So I don't want to listen all these things. The doctor says, I found myself liking him instinctively. Questioning him further, I learned that he and his wife been active for the past 15 years. So after a little while, I asked them what they are doing. So when they are showing all these things, I little bit interested now. So I asked them what they are doing. So they are for 15 years in the field of youth welfare. Welfare means for the goodness of youth. Youth means youngsters. He was by profession solicitor, so he is a lawyer, but in addition to his practice at the court, found time to act as a director of charitable organization devoted to the care of boys and girls. So he is professionally, he is a lawyer, but when he getting time, he is practicing charitable organization. Charitable organization means helping who all backward, and for the delinquent youths who all gone astray from the society, mostly from city slums. So the organ devoted to the care of boys and girls, they are caring boys and girls mostly from city slums, who had been fallen under the ban of law, who had done crime. Okay, so they are under, maybe they are juvenile delinquents. All these students, all these youth, they are making good. As he spoke with real feeling, I got a vivid picture of the work of these two people are doing. Now I understood what they are doing, so I understood the matter, what their work is, I understood. Now I got little interested. I learned how they took derelict adolescents from the juvenile courts, and derelict means in a bad condition. The youth, the youngsters, they are in a bad condition. They are bringing them from the juvenile courts and placing them in a healthy environment. So they are giving providing good food, education, health, everything. Healed them in mind and body. So they are giving treatment not only for the body, but also for the mind. They are giving some suggestions, okay, and sent them back into the world. They were given training in a useful handicraft which made them fit to take their place as a worthy members of community. So they are making all our development to live in the society. It was a work of redemption to save these youngsters that stirred the heart, and I asked what had directed his life into this channel. So now I got very interested to them. I asked with them why they selected all this kind of work. The question had a strange effect upon him. He took a sharp breath and explained. So when I asked this question, that had a strange effect upon him. So that he took one breath like that and he explained, what is that? You still do not remember me? So he is asking, you still do not remember me? I shook my head, no. To the best of my belief, I had never in my life seen him before. So I was thinking, I did not see at all him, because I have wanted to get in touch with you for many years, he went on. But he told, I know you many years under increasing stress, but I was never able to bring myself to do so. Then bending the knee, he spoke a few words tensely in my ear. So he told, no, I am not remembering you. I did not see you at all. But he told something in his ear. At that slowly the veils parted. So when he told something in his ear, he now remembered everything. My thoughts sped back a quarter of a century, nearly 25 years ago. And with a start, I remembered the sole occasion when I had seen the man before. So now I remembered everything before 25 years. I was a young doctor at the time and had just set up a practice in a working class district of London. So I was a young that time, nearly before 25 years ago. I was a doctor there, practicing in London. On a foggy November night towards 1 o'clock, I was awakened by a loud banging on the door. So I was sleeping nearly 1 o'clock at night. Somebody was banging the door. Hurriedly, I threw on some clothes and went downstairs. So hurriedly, somebody is calling, so I hurriedly went down. It was a sergeant of police. So one police in dripping helmet and cap neatly outlined the doorsteps. He was staying outside the doorstep. So he told, a suicide case, he told me abruptly, in the lodging around the corner. I had better to come at once. So somebody suicided, you come fast, he told to doctor. We walked the short distance in silence, so we did not speak anything. We went there, even our footsteps muffled by the fog, so less clear, even our steps also we cannot hear, and turned into the narrow entrance of an old building. So we walked there in a narrow building. As we mounted the breaking staircase, my nostrils were stung by the sick, sweet odor of illuminating gas. So when I was going there, mounting the cracking staircase, is not a very good building. That is, when I was climbing that staircase, I felt some smell, one gas smell. On the upper story, the agitated landlady showed us to bare little attic where stretched on a narrow bed lay the body of a young man. So there was standing one landlady. She was standing there with nervous. She got very frightened. She showed a small place there in the one small room. There on a narrow bed, small bed, lying the body of a young man. One man is sleeping there, body nearly half dead. Although apparently lifeless, there remained the barest chance that the youth was not quite beyond recall. So already he somewhat dead, looks like a dead person. With the surgeon's help, I began the work of resuscitation, means first aid. We gave him for entire, so he is not breathing now, so we gave first aid breathing, artificially breathing we gave. For an entire hour we labored without success. So one hour we gave artificial air to him, but he did not recall. He is a dead condition. Despite our strenuous exertion, so too much full energy we wasted, great energy we put, and we tried to recall his breath, it appeared useless. So we thought it is no use of giving him artificial because he is already dead. Then as we were about to give up, so we thought maybe he will not get up now, he dead. So we thought let us stop. Completely exhausted, there broke from the patient a shallow convulsive gasp. So we thought of stopping this action now. As we thinking, the dead body started little to breathe slowly. Half an hour redoubled the efforts and we had the youth sitting up. So after many great effort, the youth sat down. Gazing at us dazedly, slowly he seemed to be realizing the horror of the situation. Now he slowly understood the horror of the situation. He understood. So I made a suicide attempt. Now somebody has rescued me. He understood the situation. As he regained his strength, he told us his story. So after a little while, he got his strength back. He told his story. His parents were dead. What is the story? He told that his parents were dead. An uncle had found him a position as clerk in a London solicitor's office. So his parents were no more. So his uncle gave an opportunity in London city solicitor's office. He had been in the city only 6 months. So only he had there 6 months. Utterly friendless, he had fallen victim to the loose society of the streets. So he had no many friends. So he chose crooked ways. He had fallen victim to the loose society of the streets. He made bad companions. So now he got many bad companions to him. And like a young fool, eager to taste pleasure far beyond his means. Whatever bad things, he did all his bad things, had begun to bet on horses. And again another one is his main hobby was betting to the horses. Soon he had lost all his small savings. He lost all his money, had pledged his belongings and owed the bookmaker a disastrous amount. So whatever he had, he kept for pledge. So he kept his things there and took money from there. In an effort to recoup, he had taken. So he wanted that things back. So he stolen money from the office safe for a final gamble. So he wanted to play again betting. So he had no money. So what he did, he stole money from the office. That he was assured was certain to win, but he thought this time he will win, but he did not win. But this last resort had failed. Terrified of the prosecution that must follow, sick at heart, sunk in despair. So he thought because of stealing he will go to jail, because of maybe civil actions will reproduce. So he felt very despaired. He had shut himself in his room. He closed the door and he turned on the gas. So understood the reason why he committed suicide, tried to commit the suicide. A long bar of silence throbbed in the little attic when he concluded this halting confession. So he told everything, his story. Confession means he told everything, what he did mistake. He told the mistake and he cried a lot. Then gruffly, deep, the sergeant asked how much he stolen. So the police asked how much he stole the money. 7 pounds 10 shilling. Only 7 pounds and 10 shillings. That is too less money he stole, not too big amount, small amount. The answer sounded pitiful, so they felt very pity, because this is not too much money, this is less amount of money, and because of this less amount of money he tried to commit suicide. For this paltry means small sum, he had almost thrown away his life. Because of this small amount of money he wanted to stop his life, he wanted to spoil his life. There was a pause, there was a silence now. The three of us, the sergeant, the landlady and me. The landlady is the owner of the room. Okay, landlady means here the owner of the room, and me. So only three persons know that he tried to commit the suicide. The sole witness of the near tragedy. So we only three persons we know, no one else knows these things, had the same unspoken thoughts in our minds. We decided to give the young man a fresh start. So we thought the police helped him, because he took his risk. So he did not complain, he did not prepare an FIR. Without preparing the FIR, because of his, he took main risk. The sergeant at considerable risk to his job. It is a risk to his job. If somebody understands, his job will lose, he will lose his job. Resolved to make no report upon the case. So he did not made the report to the case, so that no court proceedings would result. So there will no court proceedings. The landlady offered a month's free board until he should get upon his feet again. So landlady, the owner of the room, she told, I don't want rent. He will stay here till he got the job or something. He can stay here without giving me the rent. While I, making perhaps the least contribution, came forward with £7 10 shilling for him to put back in his office safe. So what I did is, I gave just only £7 and 10 shillings I gave to him. You give the money or keep the money in the office. So I just give little money, small amount, small saving I give. The ship moved on through the still darkness of the night. So now he is telling, he was introduced himself that time. The doctor remembered everything. So the doctor is thinking now what had happened in the before last 25 years ago. Now the ship is moving here. There was no need of speech. So now understood. With a tender gesture of Mrs. S had taken her husband's hand, and we sat in silence. So we, three of them also, we sat in silence. I could not but reflect that it was the best investment I had made ever in my life. So now I just thought, I made many investment in bank, everything. I have put too much money in bank, everything. But this is the best investment I ever made. Doctor says this is only how much money? £7 and 10 shillings. That is too less money I made investment. So he is saying that is not for interest. He gave that money, but he gave for a kind, small, kind act. That is, this person only changed his life, and he became one charitable person. Now, he was the best ever. So his doctor is thinking, this is the best investment I had made in my life. It had paid me no dividends in worldly goods. So if you say, this money I did not get any interest, Palisha, any interest, I did not give any dividends, but I got many goodness from this. But had turned out to be immensely profitable. This small amount of money, I got too much profit, he says. But as not a profit I got from as money, but I got a good kindness. It stood over against all the hard investment I had made throughout the years, those foolish speculation for material gain. So I had worked for, till here I worked only for money. Only for money I was working. I made too much money. But all this money is full of waste, but the real money is, real value is what I have given this fellow, that is £7 and 10 shillings. That is the two, for this money have too much value, producing only anxiety, disappointed and frustration. So I felt very happy for this investment, which is the best investment in my life. Thank you.